What is going on, everybody, and welcome to my review of the newest Marvel Cinematic Universe release, The Marvels, the last Marvel piece of entertainment that we've got for the year 2023. So if you go back and you check out my review of the original Captain Marvel, or if you watch any of my recent rankings, not the biggest fan of that movie. I thought it was fine, but it was one of the more average, mediocre efforts by Marvel for me. I didn't hate the character of Captain Marvel, didn't really love the character either. They didn't do too much to really sell me on the character in Avengers Endgame either, so not exactly a character that I've been excited for the second feature. And as the project has gone along, it has went from easily being Captain Marvel 2 to being more of a launch of other characters as well as sequels to Disney Plus shows. This movie is like a sequel to 5 different things. It's a sequel to Captain Marvel, it's a sequel to WandaVision, it's a sequel to Miss Marvel, I guess Secret Invasion leads into this, I'm probably forgetting one or two. This is the first movie that has come out that looked like absolute homework, and I am unfortunately one of those people that has been so exhausted and let down by the quality of Marvel over the past couple of years that I refuse to do homework for a movie I'm not even that interested in. And unfortunately, this is also one of those movies that even before the fucking thing releases, the conversation surrounding it is just gross, disgusting, and disheartening to where a lot of us don't even really feel like seeing it or talking about it. It's just like, whatever, you guys have already decided what the conversation is going to be. That's no interest to me either. But nonetheless, I want to give it a fair shot. Of course, it's a new Marvel movie. I want to stay somewhat in the know of what's going on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for now. They haven't lost me that much yet. So I went to check this thing out on opening night, and I'll be honest, it's a little better than I thought it was going to be. Starting off with the positives, I really liked the character of Miss Marvel. Now, I did not watch the TV series. By then, I had already given up on Disney Plus Marvel stuff, so I haven't seen really anything since Moon Knight, and there's even a couple of shows before that I didn't bother with. So didn't give that show a chance. I'm mildly curious to check it out now because she was easily the best part of the movie. Just the infectious charm that her character has, the youthful innocence and excitement that she has to be a part of this. You almost feel like the character's excitement to be involved in this situation with Captain Marvel is very indicative of the excitement that the actress has to be in a Marvel movie. And it was just fun to be around that. That was a character that instantly was sold to me, and I was like, I like her. I like her powers. I like her personality. Give me more of that character. This movie has a much lighter tone than the first Captain Marvel, and to me, I thought it was a little bit more fitting of this world. Captain Marvel is one of those cosmic characters that is kind of rubbing shoulders in the universe of something like Guardians of the Galaxy, where we're talking about space entities and AIs and the Skrull. And just like in Guardians of the Galaxy, that type of world, I think, fits a little bit more of a lighthearted tone for the most part. You can do darker stuff. They have done it in Guardians of the Galaxy, but Captain Marvel was fairly serious, except for just the Marvel brand of humor. This one, they have a lot more fun with what's going on. They have more fun with the characters. They try to go for more goofy little gimmicks here and there. And I felt like, especially with Miss Marvel being kind of the predominant person in this story and kind of the star of the show, that tone fits her and overall fits the movie a little better, to where I would say this is easily more of a crowd-pleasing movie than the first Captain Marvel. I liked what they did with Goose and the other, what do they call them, Flarkins? Like the little The Thing cats that have the tentacle mouths and everything. It was definitely more of a visual gag this time around than it was in the first movie, where there's a little more mystery to it, and of course that's how we found out that Nick Fury lost his eye. But I liked what they did with it here. It was kind of the more standout sequence of the movie. It got a pretty decent laugh out of me. And I could see them doing more with that character in that vein and still being able to milk a few good jokes, a few sight gags out of it. And finally, I can't get specific whatsoever, but there are 2 things that the end of this movie, the pre-credit sequence as well as the mid-credit sequence teases, that I'm definitely interested in. You know, one of which I felt like was odd to put in this movie, but nonetheless, they're going there. They have teased it. Now we are heading in that direction, and I'm ready to head in that direction. So I at least left this movie going, okay, I'm still excited of where we're hopefully going to be going in the future. I just hope the quality gets back up to par before we get there. Moving on to the mix, the big one is Captain Marvel herself. Now, as I said, I did not hate her character in the first movie or Avengers Endgame, but I didn't really like her character either. It has nothing to do with Brie Larson. I am not one of those people that just decided to hate on her like some other channels. I just felt like the character didn't have very much of a personality. I didn't feel like some of the qualities that they were giving the character were that interesting. I don't know what it exactly was. It's been a while since I've seen Captain Marvel, but they just didn't sell me on that title character, which is an issue Marvel hasn't had too often. Here, I found her to be much more of a likable character, much more enjoyable of a character. Part of that is because of the tone of the movie. The problem that comes along with that, though, is that I don't feel like her character change, her personality change, was earned or explained. And I'll develop on that a little bit more in my negatives, but it feels like we've caught up with Captain Marvel after she has been through a lot of things, and I feel like we definitely needed to see her go through that. We needed to see her go through that journey to see how her personality was changed from this hardened person who's been like this soldier at war in the cosmos to now somebody who's a little bit more loose, a little bit more playful, somebody who fits in a little bit more with this universe, I would say. I'm missing that chapter. And now moving on to the negatives.
The guy's a sexist pig.
This movie is par for the course with all of the issues that the MCU has been having the past two phases. The storyline feels like it's about 3 or 4 different scripts, 3 or 4 different writers, and it's all just stitched together and compromised. It feels like there's a bunch of reshoots and they just never really had a clear vision for what the movie was going to be and was still trying to figure that out in post-production before it finally released in the version that we have now. It feels like it doesn't really have even a clear direction of where we're actually going to be going in the overall universe storyline, aside from just cameo baiting. And even though I liked what they did by the end of it, and I'm excited for those directions, it just doesn't feel earned. Like, it doesn't feel like it used to, where we would hint at things and it's like, oh yeah, we have been setting that up, haven't we? Oh, that's going to be a cool direction to go. Now we're just still in that constant trend of cameo baiting to where it's like, here's person from Marvel Universe you haven't seen yet. Isn't that cool? I don't know. We'll see when they get their fucking movie, I guess. One part of this movie is Miss Marvel Season 2. One part of this movie is Secret Invasion follow-up regarding the races of aliens that Nick Fury is stuck between in like this civil war. One part of this movie is a Captain Marvel sequel to a movie that we have not seen yet. And the other part of this movie is the roundup of all 3 of these characters for the first time and assembling this team called the Marvels, and just none of it really fits together. They all have their own different tones, they all have their own different struggles, and none of it comes together very cleanly. And the best part of the movie is the Miss Marvel sequel, which unfortunately I did not watch the first season. And so anytime it's not focusing on her, I started to feel all the stitches in the script. And focusing specifically on Captain Marvel, I heard my buddy Sean Chandler say in his out-of-theater reaction, this movie feels like Captain Marvel 3, and I didn't quite know what he meant by that until I saw the movie, and he's spot on. Everything regarding Captain Marvel's character and her development and the overall plot that she is stuck in with the antagonist of the movie feels like this is something that was set up in a movie that I have not seen. And while I've gotten used to that feeling because I'm not feeling obligated to watch everything the MCU releases nowadays, everybody else is going to get that feeling too, because we ain't got that fucking movie. We don't have that Captain Marvel 2. And all you get is like little sprinkles of expositions in like these dream sequences where they show you what Captain Marvel did after Captain Marvel 1 and what she did to piss this person off and why we're in the situation we are now. And so the entire plot regarding those 2 characters feels completely empty, because all of the buildup is missing from the storytelling. And I don't know why they decided to do that. That is something that, this is the first time the MCU has ever had that issue of not telling enough story or buildup to get to the certain point in the story or the character arc that they want to get to. Usually it's like, okay, we had to do 3 movies to get here, and fans are almost impatient to get to that end point. Now, I don't know if it was just the reception of Captain Marvel. I don't know if it was all the controversy with Brie Larson. I don't know if it was all the shakeup after Bob Chapek and they were trying to rush to get the Miss Marvel 2 and get these characters together as fast as possible. I have no fucking idea how it happened, but clearly there was a Captain Marvel 2 with a very specific plot point that was going to lead to the conflict of this movie, and that movie just got wiped from existence. That movie got dusted when Thanos snapped and never came back in Endgame. Another issue with the storytelling here is that apparently they did test screenings, which is a very new thing for Marvel to do, and they did a lot of reshoots, and they were cobbling this thing together in post-production in the editing room, trying to figure out how to get all the pieces to work. And something that really stuck out to me when I was watching this is that it's very clear that the script that they started with was not very strong. And the way that they decided to spice this up a bit was by putting in a bunch of gimmicks. So you have the whole body swapping, teleporting gimmick that was basically all they were advertising in the trailer. Every time one of the Marvel characters uses their powers, they spontaneously swap places with one of the other Marvel characters. So they're trying to do like a fight, or they're trying to save somebody, and randomly if they use their power, they're going to screw up, and somebody that has no idea what is going on is going to swap places with them, and vice versa.
I could totally show you. No!
Then you also have, which I did enjoy, the goose gimmick. There's a whole sequence of the movie that's just playing on that. There's a planet that we go to on this water world that's literally like a 15-minute gimmick. I mean, it was just like somebody sat in a room and said, we don't have shit going on in this movie. What's some goofy shit that you can think of we haven't done in the universe yet? Body swapping. Music Island. And so the more entertaining and standout sequences of the movie are very surface level and very superficial and absolutely do not have anything to do with the storytelling or the character development itself. And finally, one of my bigger disappointments with this is that I don't see or feel Nia DaCosta as a director anywhere on this movie. I felt like she had a very distinct style with Candyman. I really liked that movie. Few issues for sure, but I really liked what she brought to it. I think that she did a damn good job as a director. I liked the visual that she went for. I think she had a really good eye for showing you and not telling you. And I was waiting to see what she was going to do in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as soon as I heard that they hired her before Candyman had even come out. You watch this, and this is one of the more generic looking MCU films. And what I mean by that is that it feels like it could have been directed by anybody. It feels like this movie was directed by Kevin Feige. And I miss the days in the MCU where you always had a bit of that, and you always had a bit of that Kevin Feige's in charge. This all has to work together and feel like one universe. And so all the movies are gonna kind of feel like they all belong together, but there was always a very distinctive director style. There was always a very distinctive voice in there, whether it be James Gunn or the Russo brothers, or even Sam Raimi just a couple years ago with Multiverse of Madness. I didn't feel any of that in the Marvels. Maybe it's because this was only her second film and she didn't get enough power. Maybe she did put some distinctive style in here and I just haven't seen enough of her work to see what that is yet, and my head's just stuck in Candyman. I don't know, but this felt like almost like a Marvel Cinematic Universe AI made this movie. And now let's stop to talk about a few things regarding the Marvels. You know, this is a movie that I actually came very close to not even bothering talking about. I was still going to see it, but I debated heavily whether I even wanted to drop a review or talk about this online, because this is the latest movie that you are not allowed to have any opinion on. If you like the movie, then you're in support of woke stuff and you're in support of the generic direction the MCU has gone and you're just a Disney bootlicker. If you dislike anything about this movie, you're a misogynist, you're a pig, you hate all women, and we're going to destroy your online life as much as we possibly can. I've seen fellow critics get tweets dug up from when they're in fucking high school because they didn't like this movie. I saw a fairly credible critic say that it's interesting how all men are the ones who are disliking the Marvels.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
You're just coming off stupid.
I'm coming off as stupid.
Isn't it interesting how that all men hate this movie and the negative scores are all from men? That conversation only comes up when it's a movie that a lot of people don't like. When there's a movie that's led by women or led by people of color that we all agree is great, it's interesting how that conversation never comes up, isn't it? I don't remember this being a problem when Wonder Woman was a big hit. As of right now, the movie's got a 62% on the critic score and an 85% on the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. So I guess all the people that were on the positive side of this that were men, maybe they're just trying to hide their misogyny. When are we going to get to the point where this is not the constant narrative when it comes to movie criticism or movie conversations, when it is a woman or a person of color in charge of the movie or in front of the movie's poster? Are we ever going to get back to that? Because this has absolutely killed movie discussion. We all know there's a couple of channels and influencers and creators out there that are going to hate this movie months in advance, no matter how good the movie is, because that's the audience that they're playing to.
I can feel your anger.
and you can absolutely have your opinions about those people and the people that watch their channels. We all know there's going to be a few people in the theater that are going to walk out saying something ignorant, or walk into the theater and you're going to hear them in the lobby saying something ignorant. They don't represent everybody. So can we stop making dumb blanket statements as if all men hate all women and everything that women represent? When you make blanket statements saying it's interesting that all men are the problem this time, or that all men are hating on this, or only men are going to have an issue with this movie, the subject of your statement are the people specifically that you are thinking of, but the people that are seeing your statement that do not apply to that are wondering if you're talking about them. And here's another thing. If we did live in that world, which we absolutely do not, and I will stamp my opinion on that camp right now, but if we did live in that world where it's impossible for a movie led by a woman to succeed because the man's gonna keep him down, where the fuck are the Taylor Swift-sized crowds of all of you ladies to go and save it from that? I went to go see this opening night in a 300-seat theater, 8 people in attendance, all dudes. Where are the massive crowds supporting this? Where are the massive crowds supporting a female filmmaker and female leads? Where are the people just wall to wall wearing pink like it was back in Barbie? What? What's that? Oh, you didn't think the trailer was very good either.
And then meanwhile, you look at the Kardashians, you look at those Real Housewife shows, they're making money hand over fist, because that's what women are watching. That's the message you sent. We would rather watch that than see a bunch of women come together as a team and try to achieve a common goal. We would rather watch them absolutely fucking destroy each other.
You want some cold hard facts? Here they are. The Marvel Cinematic Universe was one of the most consistently long-running bills of success that we have ever seen in movie-making history. But things have changed. Ever since Endgame, we've had a very spotty track record in regards to the movies and absolutely in regards to the Disney Plus shows. Nothing feels like it's heading in a very consistent or foreseeable direction that we can get excited about. There's many characters that we have gotten attached to that we have not seen in years. Simultaneously, we are still very much in that post-COVID era where people are much more selective and choosy about what they spend their time and money on in regards to movies, and they are much more inclined to sit at home and tell their kids to wait 4 weeks for this thing to drop on Disney Plus rather than go spend $100+ to take them to the theater opening weekend. And when you have a franchise that's been as spotty as the MCU, that decision becomes much easier for a parent to make. When you have a marketing campaign that this movie had where I didn't see this trailer very often, and I'm at the theater every single week damn near, and the trailers that we did see did not sell us on story or characters because they didn't really have a whole lot in the movie to sell you on. They just sold you on a gimmick. And when you add all those things together, you have a movie that does not have very convincing momentum to be an eventual success. We've seen it multiple times this year with other superhero films that were led by men. Did Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania pretty much bomb and have a critic score that was like 20 points lower than this, or am I living in the multiverse? So all the idiot white knights on the internet that are attacking people, attacking critics, digging up old 10, 15-year-old tweets, trying to ruin somebody's credibility because they didn't love the Marvels, you're fucking scum. You are absolutely the worst form of excrement that comes with movie discussion, and you are doing nothing but hurting the cause that you think that you are a white knight for, because all you're doing is turning people off that are not your enemy. And if you're somebody that is professional and credible and knows better, do not raise the temperature of that bullshit, because blanket statements don't help anything. And in conclusion, if you are somebody that is frustrated or upset or disappointed that the newest female-led blockbuster is not doing as well critically or financially as you hoped it would, and it's very clearly a lot of issues in the movie itself, especially if you're somebody making blanket statements online while acknowledging the movie has a lot of issues, maybe, for a change, let's try a different strategy and direct that frustration at the people that made the fucking movie, not the people that walked in to experience it. Direct that energy at Disney and the producers and the editors and anybody that made the decisions that went into the final product that you just saw this past weekend in the Marvels, rather than the people that dropped their hard-earned money that are regular folks like the rest of us that walked in hoping to have a good experience, but for many different reasons didn't. If you go out to a restaurant with a friend and they don't really have a good experience with their meal, do you get pissed and frustrated at them and say, hey, the cook's a woman, give her a fucking break? I didn't hear you bitch last week at Applebee's when the cook was a man. Overall, guys, if you enjoy the vast majority of the MCU or superhero genre films, you'll probably have a good time with this. This is something that I'm going to recommend to my daughters to check out, because I do think this is a movie that works very well for that teenage girl demographic because of the tone of the movie, because of the character Miss Marvel. But as a grown-ass man, I had a decent enough time with it. It is not top-tier Marvel. It does not give me confidence for the direction in the future, but I had a decent enough time with it that I don't hate the fact that I spent money to see it. All I can hope is that now that Bob Iger is back in charge, now that Kevin Feige has a little bit more control, and they're starting to slow down some of the future production, that hopefully we can get back to the glory days of the MCU where I can expect quality rather than hoping for it. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed that, please click over here for all of my 2023 new release reviews. I'm also going to put my playlist up here of all of the MCU reviews that I have done. Not every movie, but most of them. And I'll also encourage you to like, share, and hit that subscribe button so you do not miss everything in the future. I will probably do a tier list update of my Marvel Cinematic Universe ranking sometime here very soon, so check that out whenever I drop it. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.